So we all remember the story of the wandering children of Israel during their return to the Promised Land. And as Swedenborgians, we can understand that it's a correspondence metaphor for suggesting an important inner journey. And I guess you probably all remember the yellow brick road. The lion is pursuing an inner journey to courage, the Tin Man to compassion, and the Scarecrow to intelligence. And Dorothy's journey among the witches and the munchkins corresponds to the realization that things that matter and bring us happiness are around home. And the metaphor of physical journey for an inner or spiritual quest may be useful because we tend to think in terms of progress and of moving towards something better. And a faith in our ability to reach our physical goals and may even help promote faith that we can realize that we can eventually realize our spiritual goals. And so I want to say a few words about preparation, directions, and the way we travel. During this past winter, Pete and I spent a lot of time and a lot of money preparing for our trip to Norway, getting the wool hats and the boots and the thermal underwear and the ski gloves and all that. Because we're going to the way north of the Arctic Circle. So without that preparation, would have been a disaster. Not only would we not have fun, we might have froze to death. Anyway, so of course we need to know where we're going. Well, first of all, Alice in Wonderland, you might have seen this in the email, but Allison she had a conversation with a Cheshire cat, and she said, "Would you please tell me which way to go? I have to go from here." And the cat says, "Well, it depends on a good deal on where you're going." And she said, "I don't much care." And he said, "Well, then it doesn't much matter." But I think it does matter to know where you're going. So that's what I'm going to look at here. An outer journey usually has a fairly clear geographical destination. An inner journey is a little bit less easy to identify. I think, though, if there's no real attempt to establish a goal, an inner or outer goal, there's a little possibility that it can be reached, whether it's a closer relationship with God or a fuller spiritual relationship with other people, or just a new state of being, inner being. The emphasis to me is on the journey itself, not necessarily the final destination, because it's about the growth and transformation that occurs along the way. So preparation for both the outer journeys and the inner journeys can be useful. Something that can be accomplished through study. We read guidebooks to identify the historical monuments and where the B&Bs are. In the same way, we find useful spiritual guidance in the Bible and in Swedenborg and other places. But a lot of preparation is less literal. The less literal matter, it consists of attitude that we cultivate before embarking on our journey. I think Pete was a little concerned about my attitude before we left. We had a very cold winter, and I complained about it all the time. And I think he was hoping I had a little change of attitude before we got to the northernmost city of the world, where it's going to be cold. I did, by the way. So the success of a trip depends greatly on how we contemplate the experience. For instance, if we see it as merely an escape, then that's all we're going to take from it, a departure and absence for something undesirable and not much more. Similarly, An inner journey is based on a simple desire to escape. That's not going to endure. If we're inclined to seize the experiences that await us and embrace them fully, then the dividends are going to be large for the inner journey, just as well as the outer journey. So next we have directions. These are part of the preparations, of course, there should be. Consulting maps and reading road directions, making sure your flight hasn't changed. But along the road, there is usually a need to check our bearings and sometimes make course corrections. And yes, Pete, you may have to stop and ask directions. We all might need help along the way, of course. Then there's the way we travel. If we merely gaze at the recommended tour sites and endlessly try to get the best photo and even miss staring at the site, we haven't done much that's meaningful. We won't have a very satisfying experience. If we're truly open to experiencing the places and people we discover, it's a more worthwhile journey. And on an inner journey, we also need to go deeper. We need to proceed with an open mind and spirit open to new discoveries. Marcel Proust, I think that's how you say it, Marcel Proust once said, "The true voyage of discovery consists not in seeking new landscapes, but in having new eyes." So indeed, the essence of travel lies not only in changing scenery, but in the transformation that sparks within us. And to truly embrace the beauty of exploration, both inner and outer, we must be open to the inner shifts, allowing ourselves to be vulnerable and to the new experiences and the new perspectives. Then the way we travel on our journey can also shape our inner journeys as they unfold. The outer journey may be more than just a metaphor for the inner journey. It might actually parallel and intersect it. Perhaps we might gain a new perspective in inward matters of greater appreciation of God's creation. Swedenborg says, "The exploration of the natural world promotes discussion and understanding of the spiritual world." We really don't have to travel to accomplish this. We're all engaged in living journeys, and both outer and inner every day. I mean, just going to the grocery store can be an experience. This is regeneration. Our guideposts on the journey are the truths we learn, and the way we travel includes the choices that we make. So I'm going to end. I'm going to read these two verses from the Bible. One is from Genesis chapter 24. "Lord, before whom I have walked, the Lord, before whom I have walked, will send his angels and make your journey a success." And from Deuteronomy 2, "The Lord your God has blessed you in all the work of your hands. He has watched over your journey through this vast desert. These 40 years the Lord God has been with you, and you have lacked nothing." So I want to leave you with a last thought, which is the best thought, and that is, you don't travel all alone. Amen.